Okay, so it's 2:30 and Taryn isn't here, but hopefully she'll be here shortly. So welcome everybody to the regular meeting, a little half hour early for the Coastal Resilience Committee. See, I can hear I'm echoing on here. Or is it, maybe it's Jean-Louis, is it yours? I can hear my voice on yours. Okay, thank you. Anyway, welcome everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's 2:31. And so we're having a meeting today in coordination with the Conservation Commission. And I guess you guys don't need a quorum, although I think you might have one. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, great. I wasn't sure if that was necessary. So we always open with public input. So is there anyone here who would like to make a comment, public comment? Carlos?
I just want to jump ahead on the ETIP, just a quick update.
Yes.
At the annual meeting of the Block Island Utility District, Peter Cappers, who was the lead of the ETIP study, explained that even though his intention was to release the report in September, now the new administration has lots of layers above his review. So he has absolutely no idea when that report will see the light of the day.
Okay.
And even if we're not sure if it will see the light of day. So apparently lots of layers of review have been added on top. So that's the ETIP
Well,
update.
I'm sorry about that, but thank you.
Yep.
The new normal, right? Anything else from the public? The next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes from September 2nd, Coastal Resilience Committee meeting. Can I hear a motion to approve? Okay, Sosha, second? I'll second. Any discussion of the September minutes? Okay, all in favor of approving the September 2nd minutes, indicate by aye. Aye. Any opposed? Terrific. Okay, next item is town and council updates. And I have a little update from the town council. Nora, Mike Shea, and I made a presentation yesterday to the town council last night regarding the Corn Neck Road project, where we are. Just so that you all know, I'm just waiting for the last edits from GZA before I will send the draft master plan to the committee for you guys. Our little subcommittee, Mary, Nigel, Nora, and I reviewed it first to do all the English changes and, all that kind of stuff, so that we didn't get that from 9 people. And so we've done that part. And like I said, I'm just waiting for the last changes. As soon as I get it, I'll turn it right around and send it to you, the Coastal Resilience Committee. I copy Amanda on everything, so she will get it for the Conservation Commission folks if you want a copy of it. But I'll send you the draft master plan, and I will also send you the presentation, that the visuals from last night, and my narrative from last night. So you'll get it all electronically in the next day or two, I hope. I'll nag Mike Gardner. I'll nag him about it this week. And can please use the mics.
Does the town need a deadline as to when it should respond to this plan?
I think we need to establish that once they take a look at it and give them a
Right.
chance to actually go through it. That I didn't want to give it to them without speaking with them first, because it's over 70 pages. It's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. And I wanted to give them at least a little guidance about how to go
Right.
through it.
Right,
And,
right.
and by the way, the narrative that I used last night was ripped off wholesale from that document. I just I just cut and pasted bits and
Yeah.
pieces from the document and made little like Judy enhancements, Judy embellishments to it, but just to make it personal and, give it some flow. But all the guts are just totally ripped off out of the report.
Maybe the better question to ask is the town council required to respond to this plan?
I don't know. I think we ought to give them a chance to respond. Absolutely, yes.
See what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do what, yeah, I think we really need to, yeah,
But
absolutely.
in the meantime, would GZA be bringing it up to 90%?
Yeah, I think that we need to continue to keep them employed and moving towards the 100%. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So anything else on the town council? Amy is here. Amy Land is here to speak with us. So she's the town manager, and she's going to speak with us about the role of the town advisory, being a town advisory committee.
And I think we're going to wind up exactly where you just brought us, social, which is, how coastal resilience and the town council and the staff all interact. And I apologize. I wanted to have this conversation a couple months ago and just kept slipping in the schedule. And it's as much for my education as anything. As I try to understand how the committee continues to evolve, and how to continue the very active membership and engagement. It's unlike any other board that we have in the town, which is fantastic. But also making sure that we're still advisory to the council and where the decision making happens. And I think particularly as you think about how the committee will evolve as Judy transitions out of chair, making sure that we're staying on top of these things and moving the grant programs forward. Because I think as you indicated, Sosha, we're in a little bit of a chicken and egg where you're pushing to 90 and then 100% on the grant programs. But there hasn't necessarily been an official sign off or an endorsement of the 3 programs and the 3 concepts for each of the 3 programs. And then never mind the phase 2 items. So it's as much a question and an opening of the conversation about how do we do those 2 things without losing momentum, I think, because nobody wants to squash all the progress, but making sure we're not getting that coastal resilience isn't getting too far out in advance. And then all of a sudden you've got phase 2 items in a grant proposal that is up for hopefully award and agreement, but the council hasn't signed off on those as priorities. Like that's kind of what I'm trying to avoid. So I guess, was there a conversation at the committee level about how this plays out over the next few months, or is it still open? Okay, a panic question.
No, because we're wading into unexplored territory for us. I don't know the experience with the rest of the committee, but I don't have any experience of getting this far. I've always been on the funding end, not on the doing end. So this is a learning for all of us. But it's pretty clear that the next step is that we need to have some kind of confab with the town council once they've had a chance to look at it, at the draft master plan and where we're going with this, to give us their feedback and tell us, guide us, steer us in whatever way they want. And then so that we can then follow up. Yeah.
Can I ask, I think Allison might be the right one for this question. Allison, do we know a time frame for the current NIFWIF award?
Yes. So NIFWIF The current award that is direct to the town is through the end of this year, calendar year, 12/30. But I did put in a request for an extension till I think 6 months out, end of June of next year. So I'm waiting on that approval of that extension. However, we might not, a majority of the NIFWIF money and scope of work has been completed, so we possibly didn't really need that request for an extension because, but I just put it in there in case, just to be safe, but the majority of the money for this current project is funded through the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, MRP. So as you see, like the NIFWIF is the smaller dollar amount one, like 175 around that. So that's pretty much been spent. So we're just in the process of requesting reimbursements, but the the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank also is the end of this year, 12/30, and I did speak with them, so they said probably, no issue getting a year extension of that. We haven't requested an extension yet, so most of their towns are in a um, similar need for an extension. So that will be in November. They'll reach out and we can process an extension of that because that one is one that involves that scope of work for that grant involves the construction or implementation. So that one would be nice to have the full year because it's possible, right? That might be fall of next year for implementation.
And then
Yep.
the, I don't know if it's round 2 of NIFWIF that's currently under application. Do they have an award date for that?
So that one that's an application from the state of Rhode Island. So we are just, New Shoreham was just included as one of the towns that they're putting money in for. So they had reached out and it's been a bit of a process. Last round, we didn't get it. This round, they asked for, it's gone through a number of steps, but their full application was submitted this summer and the response is actually November. I checked my notes again. I thought it was October, but it's November when the state will receive word on whether or not any of their projects have been awarded.
Okay. So what I'm thinking with that question is as the committee works through the draft final report, if that made its way back up through the council process for what I would presume or hope is adoption, if we did that before November or before that second round is awarded, then we've got sort of buy-in from the council and from the public before technically moving to the next step, if that makes sense.
Yes,
in
that makes
terms
a lot of
sequence.
sense. Yeah, yeah.
So, okay.
So, I've never met with just the council, like a working session. It would be like a working session. I don't know if it has to be a public meeting or what. I mean, it's just to go through the document and answer questions and, and get their feedback. I don't know what the right forum is for that. I don't even, I have no idea.
I think given the depth of the presentation last night, they had a lot of opportunity, at least as someone sitting through it, to ask questions and understand what the different paths are. So I think if you coming back with the report, even in just a regular meeting, I don't expect that would be a long dialogue because again, you've prepped them.
Right.
And identified the path and they should be ready to ask questions if they.
Okay, so I should ask Millie to get on to like the next town or whenever I have to look at the
Yeah, it
calendar.
probably won't, it might not be the 15th, but the one after that,
Okay.
if the draft is ready.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
took me a week to go through it.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. And that's just kind of the kind of things I wanted to touch base with so that we're bringing things back up. Again, not just to the council, but out to the public as well, so that it's a two-way street.
Yeah, I believe GZA has one more stakeholder engagement in their contract.
Okay.
which has not been scheduled. Do we have a timeline like of November, don't we?
You know, I think so, but it just makes me think of what you're saying, and you're saying, Judy, and if we do have that next community outreach that we were going to combine with GZA's obligatory one, we could invite the council to that too, because there is so much material.
Right.
And that might be a good opportunity because GZA will be here. Hopefully Allison will be here. You'll still be here.
Yeah.
We can answer
And I know
any
some
questions.
of
they
them
have.
as individuals have participated in the
Mm.
process.
Yeah, Keith has, that has participated in almost everything.
Great.
Yeah.
Um,
So Amy and I met a little bit earlier and, you know, whatever, we're making this process up as we go along. And so, when I first started, I was in Mary Ann's office like once a week, trying to figure out how to run a volunteer advisory committee and where the edges and all that kind of stuff. And, maybe we need to continue that now with you in that role and,
I'm certainly open to that. And you have two staff. I mean, in addition to Laurel, you have Allison
Yes.
here and Mike as well.
Yes.
Who have been pretty involved in the process.
they've been, they are as involved or more than the rest of us. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, over time, we would expect this sort of staff to hold some of that consistency.
Yes.
We're talking over the long term. And be the primary points of contact for consultants like GCA or any of the grant administration and making sure that those Ts are crossed and the Is are dotted. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's been fantastic that the board has been able to step into some of those roles. And I think that's gotten you all off the ground, which has been,
Well, I think mostly we've really relied on Allison for that. I mean, she's the lead and we've just been sort of support staff
Great.
for her, very loud and noisy support staff, but, but she's the one who submits the grant request.
Yeah.
She's the one who, she sends us stuff to review and we react and then, yeah, but we are staff to Allison more than she's staff to us, I think.
So I have one more topic on my list, if that's okay. And it's a question really, which is we're getting into our capital planning time of year where departments are putting together their capital budgets. And there's not really an identified role for coastal resilience or climate resilience in that process. It's something that sort of gets talked about after the fact, like, oh, we didn't have a voice in this. And some of you who have come from the planning side are very familiar with what that planning board capital program looks like. But I wanted to put that on the table and see if that was something that the committee wanted to have on their agenda sometime this fall as we prepare a capital plan to sort of take a look at the.
Yes, please. Yeah, yes. We fought I asked, I think, for $200 in the budget, the reason I did that was because I didn't even know what budget meetings to go to.
Sure.
And so I was having to attend all of them in case we came up. And, so I asked, please, $200, and we got 2,000, which I don't even think we've spent.
You haven't, you need
No.
to do that.
And, 200 is, you can kind of, that's like chump change, high school, right? But 2,000, we probably should spend it, but it's probably too late for that this year. It would just to know where to be where we're supposed to go.
Yeah, so I would expect sometime either December or January,
Okay.
which is around the same time the planning board receives a draft capital plan. We would also be willing to bring that to the committee for a review and any input, if there's an interest in that.
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
Yes,
Okay.
there is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Getting back to the capital budget, tell me if I'm assuming correctly. The highway department will come to you for any kind of coastal resilience projects that need to be taken care of. For example, sweeping or clearing the parking lot, or adding more sand to the dunes. those requests will come from them, not from us. Is that right?
Generally,
Yes.
yes. In most cases, we're going to rely on the staff to bring those forward. But there are times where either they forget something or they haven't put their proposal together with an eye towards resilience in their planning or their proposed execution, or it may be on their longer list and it hasn't made its way into, say, the
Right.
6-year plan. And the committee may want to surface that. It may not change the outcome, but we can have that conversation about whether it should be a higher
Because
priority.
the only item that I can see us having input in somewhat in the near future is hiring the professional staff possibly necessary or needed to oversee everything that we do. I mean, there is no other person like Judy who has such a broad knowledge base and guts and time and energy that I don't think that we can realistically expect that kind of leadership indefinitely. And that we may be needing to look at hiring people for some of this work. And that's a discussion, I think, with us rather than with the building department.
Right.
Right.
And so this is a little bit of a tangent to that conversation, but as a reminder, we do have the Sunrise Wind funding, which is consultant-based, $50,000 a year for 5 years. So the next step is to draft that RFP. The town authorized the funding agreement that supports it. And now we're into drafting RFQs and RFPs for that consultant. So that, again, not necessarily addressing that directly, but on a parallel path, we will be bringing in some consultant resources to prioritize the resilience element of that.
So I'll say to you what I have said to Mike and to Dylan and to John and all, the department heads that we have some impact on, is if there's anything that we can do, review your plans, stand up at meetings and say how important it is for you to get an increase. I'm willing to do any of that, where this committee is willing to support them so that we can get those resilience goals buried into all the organic matter of the town. And we don't want it to be a standout item. We want it to be embedded in everything. So that's most of my conversations are, is there anything I can do that you want me to say at a budget meeting that will be helpful to you? That's more where we've been.
That was all the things on my list, but
Okay.
do you have any questions for me?
No, yeah,
Sure.
does anyone have any other questions for Amy?
Sorry, this relates to the presentation last night and the budget question. So that was the first time I saw in your presentation the figures associated with the different solutions, the funding figures.
Yeah.
And there's, from what I understand, 200,000 in the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank for implementation. But a lot of those items were way beyond that dollar figure, and the pending grant is not to implement the current grant solutions, but is for a whole different set. So my question is, is there any discussion, or is that yet to come, about where additional funding sources might come from if we go beyond the dune paths and the bioswales at Scotch Beach, which is what we could afford with the 200,000?
Well,
Yeah,
I think that's the next meeting with and that
Okay.
is what we're talking about.
And that's what we're talking about, the capital budget?
and that
Yes.
will roll into sort of
Okay.
a conversation over the coming months about if any of those are either ready to be or people have an appetite for funding those in the upcoming budget year.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Judy, can I just check with Allison and see if there's anything I missed?
No, no, I don't think so. I just following up on that question, the additional grant funding, we didn't anticipate that 200,000 would cover, obviously, this implementation of all the strategies, but we need to get projects to a point where they're ready to be implemented. So a lot of times where sometimes I know there's questions or why certain things are applied for and when, and a lot of times we're trying to move projects forward that are eligible. So we weren't ready, DEM, you seek guidance from those that are most familiar with what projects are eligible or likely to be funded. So we weren't at the point of being able to apply for additional implementation dollars for the next phase because we didn't have the engineering in place. So once this scope of work with GZA is completed, then those projects are more likely to be funded in an additional round or through other programs, grant programs. So, I mean, same thing goes for, why this first phase was selected is because we did have a conceptual plan for Scotch Beach and engineering plans for the town beach. So I could include those in a grant application and it would be awarded because there was conceptual designs ready. So maybe those aren't necessarily what some people would say are the top priorities, but those were ready to go for the next phase. So just to give a little background and explain why certain things are moving forward and at what phase.
Allison, is there an expiration date on engineering plans? If you get my,
Not that I know of, no.
okay, good.
Nigel.
I just a comment about what Alison was saying was I think you picked on a point that was certainly disappointing to me, and I think was disappointing to many on the committee that where the effort seemed to be put was on things that we weren't super interested in.
Right.
They certainly are not things that we would describe as resilience building for Cornneck Road. They may be important projects, but they're not resilience of Cornneck Roads, strictly speaking, I don't think. I have another sort of question, which seems so really trivial almost, but I'm going to say it anyway. So, we walk around and we look at things with a critical eye that concern coastal resilience and dune resilience in particular. And, we see, this year, for example, there a lot of damage was done quite a long time ago, before this year started, to the symbolic fencing that runs along the dunes that keeps people from going off into the dunes and so on. And, I think, well, my question really is, how do we as a committee say this is stuff that should really be taken care of in a routine way? And if it isn't, how do we make sure that it is? It seems like so trivial, but it doesn't happen. And, this has been something that I think people have talked about and have realized the value of, for quite some time now.
And I don't have a good answer off the cuff.
That might be, I mean, is that an example where being an advisory committee, you can make that recommendation to the town council?
I think that's part of it, definitely. And having the input of staff as you're planning new implementations is really important to make sure that the plans are really maintainable and supportable by the staff levels that we have. Sometimes there's a disconnect between what gets put out into the world and what we have the ability to keep up over time. So making sure that we've all got that alignment before a project goes live is important as well. So both sides, the after the fact, raising the issue, and also incorporating that in your planning and implementation guides. Yeah.
It's so great to have this conversation with you because it's on all of our minds. One of the things that Judy has brought up already, and I think Nigel too, is the conversations and the time we've spent with Mike, just walking the beach with students, with other relationships we've made with scientists, thanks to the community building Judy's been doing. You can see we're right where you are now. You know, we're right at that place where we're asking those same questions. And we, in those walks with Mike, see where he can't, when that particular department, not he personally, but the particular department doesn't have the funding it needs to. So I think this conversation is perfectly timed, because before the next meetings in terms of budgeting for the town, we can sort of flesh out that discussion. And to Nigel's point, other discussions too about things that we've talked about in this committee that haven't gotten to a level of discussions with the council. So we're really so ready for that. And thanks for coming today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Amy. That was great. I really appreciate it. I think we all do. Thanks so much. Allison, you were an active participant in that part of the conversation, and you're up for an update from the town planner.
One update different from our Core Neck Road project. The Rhode Island DEM, as you're aware, they had hired regional resiliency coordinators. So the coastal coordinator, Callum Lewis, I did speak with him today. He'll be reaching out to the town shortly to organize, set up a meeting time where we go through. I'm sure many of you were involved with the MRP Resilient Roadie. Remember the workshops the TNC had coordinated, and then the outcome of that was a summary of findings report. So the list of action items kind of that were included within that report, they're checking in on the municipalities as far as status of those. So I'll provide him with the input on that, and that may help with, I guess that's a requirement as far as continuing in that program. And as you recall, being eligible for, we did that program in order to become eligible for Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank's MRP action grants. So one of which is the Core Neck Road one right now. So this is kind of just part of the process, and continuing with being eligible for those action grants, and potentially identifying, you know, projects that for funding or that he can support the town with. So just want to let you know that they've been in touch, and we'll be setting up a meeting to go through that.
Allison, this is Judy. Can we have a regular, Tuesday meeting. The ferries aren't super friendly in the winter, but so even if he's not here in person, maybe we could have him at one of our meetings for
Sure.
a part of, on our agenda to meet us and to get sort of a tutorial about who we are and what our goals are, as an advisory body to the town that's specifically focused on resilience.
Yeah, sure. When I meet with him, I'll talk to him about that, attending a meeting, and also, identifying what potential things he could support the town with as far as resiliency work.
Thank you. Anything else, Allison?
Nope.
Nora, you are up. Nora is our Block Island Climate Resilience Coordinator with TNC and did a wonderful job. She's the one who created that presentation for last night. Thank you. And has also been moving mountains of paperwork and electronic paperwork, looking through ordinances and where are there vulnerabilities and where can we make suggestions in the ordinance realm. So please.
Yeah, so I really only have 2, 3-ish updates from me. 2 about Brown partnerships. Number 1, which is that me and Saul and Amy chatted last week and are kind of exploring what the best option is for the receiver for these possible environmental sensors that we're hoping to install. And so moving conversations forward, hoping with the town as well as the utilities department, hopefully soon, to kind of move that forward as well. The other Brown partnership I wanted to just touch on is I was also able to chat with the Brown environmental science class that is working on our kind of plant-based but also vegetation buffer zone-based projects. And they're kind of moving along, and I know may have chatted with some of you as well. And then my last one is I am headed up to the Stormwater Expo in Providence tomorrow, which is a climate change-based conference this year. And so I will bring back an update on that next time. So those are my updates.
Thank you, Nora. Nora is doing for this committee what really, it's a job. You know, it's going to all these meetings and pulling all, you know, reviewing all these documents. And I mean, it's a lot of, I think, just my opinion, personal opinion, a lot of what this committee does is stuff that someone would be gainfully employed to do. And it would be an exciting job for that person. And so I'm so appreciative of the Nature Conservancy and all the people that support TNC that have allowed us to have this climate coordinator role. And she is still in her first year of 3. So we're very lucky that we have actually some continuity with her, which is wonderful. And she's, you know, when you give me something to do, you get it back in a week. You give it to her, you get it the next day. So there's a big difference. Okay. And finally, update from the Block Island Coastal Resilience Chair. I just wanted to let you know that we had a wonderful interaction with the marsh scientists from URI that were here. Was that last weekend or the weekend before? Anyway, Dr. Peck and PhD candidate Rico were out here with 3 other students. We had a dinner with them. I followed them around all day on Saturday from marsh to marsh to marsh. And it was very exciting to watch. They did cores, and they've taken the cores back, and they're going to speak with us in November at our November meeting to let us know what they're doing, what their plans are. And so I'm very excited about that. So we're now we're doing the basic research now on the west side of the road. And what are the possible solutions for the marsh side of Corn Neck Road? And are there nature-based things that can build up the strength of the turf around the road versus addressing, and until we get enough money from the Department of Transportation to address the road itself. So Sea Grant has approved funding for 2 Block Island projects. One of them is Aaron Peck's marsh study, and the other is Nate Vinatiero, who is with the Coastal Institute at URI. They'll be here on December 1st, speaking with us about becoming a climate resilience demonstration site. So Nate Vinatiero and Brian Oakley are esteemed geologists, have been approved for funding from Sea Grant to measure a sand movement around Block Island. So both very important basic research studies that will support the kinds of decisions that we have to make regarding coastal resilience. And so very excited about that. Well, the sand movement one, I think that typically the Sea Grant projects are 2 years, and they've been approved for funding. Right now, Sea Grant is on the chopping block. So they're being targeted by the current administration, so we have no idea what's going to happen. So, but at least they've gone through the process, and they're like us, you know, they've got everything's ready to go. And that's where you need to be if the money ever shows up. You know, okay, we're ready to go. And it also is a wonderful sign of investment in Block Island by URI. I'm really excited about that they're paying attention to us. That's really great. Anything else? Okay, next is Jean-Louis is going to talk about GIS and what he's been doing, trying to pull GIS related information from anywhere he can find it that's related to Block Island. Is that about right? Okay. that's connected to the recording.
Okay.
And can you put it right here in your face, like move it around so it's really close. And then oral needs recording. Thanks.
Okay. So, of course, I'm part of the committee for about the erosion, and I'm proposed to gather all the data I could find on Block Island, the erosion, and all of this. So we spent the last 6 months doing that, and we have almost some kind of website, or at least a file that everybody are going to be able to access. And I want to show you how it works and what we found out. So maybe it's very small on the screen. I will probably do this way. Like this. So some of the data are part of the town. We just use them as a reference. And we start to divide, for example, the conservancy land. So for example, this is all the protected land in the island. You can remove the national, you can remove the state, and you have just the local conservancy. Why we start to divide? Because there is some kind of threat about national conservancy land, and you can see which land would be a target. I'm going to remove that. This is the land who can be the target of the administration, and I think it's important to understand that. So what we try to do is to how describe the situation with the sea level. So for example, I'm going to do that. Take so this is, I'm going to remove the conservancy. And I'm going to add the footprint of the building. So if you click on the NOAA sea level, you can see then if you have 1 foot of rise of the ocean, you can start to see who is going to be affected with this. And to be very clear, we add a text where it's pretty small, but where we describe what is the 1 foot sea level rise. That's mean it's going to be in 25 years. That's NOAA data, and it's permanent. Once the sea level is 1 foot higher, that's it. We cannot pump out the water. That's it. So every layers you can start to project. You have the 25 years, 2 feet, and you can start to see some of the buildings start to be traded in the flood zone. That's mean in 75 years, that's NOAA data, in 75 years, some of the buildings are going to be underwater forever. So this is a tool that I think is very easy to understand and use for people. Everybody can look his own land, his own house, and figure out, like, in 25 years, this is going to be like this. The second part, and I want to add something. When we did the research, there is no projection of storm surge on the sea level rise, because nobody knows what is going to be the impact, 1 foot of sea level rise. So it's very important. The data we see is for the level of the water today. It's not in 25 years. Nobody has that. Maybe somebody we couldn't find it. So after that, what we did is to start to look at the storm surge the same way. So the storm surge, you can look at the storm surge, for example, a foot, you can see the impact. I will turn the knob. That's the part in yellow. And you can zoom in, but between the zoom and the screen doesn't work very well. So you have a storm, you click Okay, the yellow one is the storm, 1 foot storm, and we describe the same way. That's mean the chance to have a foot of storm surge. We describe all the possibility according to NOAA. So I can read that, and we have also the data source. So everybody can go to the data and confirm what we described. You have 3 feet. Okay, you can start to see, for example, we can take this. Right, 3 feet. Sure. This is where we are. Okay, so 3 feet, 33% probability to have a 3 feet storm surge every year. And we go up 5 feet. This is where we are in 5 feet. And when you click on 5 feet, you see we found out that the 1991 perfect storm is 5 feet and 1. And we found out that the December 22 winter storm Elliott is 5 feet and 2. So when you look at this, I will zoom in. When you look at this, this is the chance to have this storm surge on this part of the land is sure in the next 5 years, 7 years, no more than that. And it will come up, it just takes some time. Oops. This is where we are. I can add the street also, so it's easier to the road, like this. That's the road. So you see, this is like I say, 5 feet storm surge at the level of the water today. And 2 of them are in the last 10 years. Okay, and you can keep doing that. We keep doing the research. 7 feet. This is 7 feet. So 7 feet is 2016 Sandy and 1991 Bob. That's the projection from NOAA.
Where are the numbers for the size? Where are the numbers for the size of the Sandy storm surge coming from?
It's just NOAA and FEMA. They have all the data. We just look at them.
We have a table. We
Yeah, no, so certainly, you know, I mean, GZA have been using the Newport information,
Right.
but we are not Newport.
Right.
And certainly tidal effects in Newport are quite amplified relative to Block Island.
But the graph is, the pink part is not from that. The pink part is from NOAA for Block Island.
For Block Island, okay.
And I just take the reference that Sandy was, I just took the reference. We didn't have the data specifically for Sandy on Block Island, but we have, but we have the data for, okay? And we can keep doing that. So what I want to show is,
let's speed up. Show me.
I'm sorry.
Is Sandy 5 feet or Sandy?
Sandy was 7 feet.
7 feet.
Let me see. 6'1".
Did we have 2 breaks in?
6'1", yeah, yeah. And the last one is Hurricane 1938, where you can see Hurricane, it was 16 feet, and the NOAA gave us 10 feet. So we are even less than. So you can see all the street, this part is totally underwater. And the water comes from both sides, not only from the ocean. The water comes from the other side. So I'm going to be faster. But what we did is to have, for example, storm drain. Now you can have the storm drain and you can do the same. You can add 5 feet storm surge and you see the storm drain who are under the water. So that means it's a tool for everybody to look at the situation today, how it looks like, and what needs to be done for everybody, the conservancy, the town, the private entity, everybody. It's all the data, we just overlay one after the other one, and we could add more. We could add more.
So, Jean-Louis, where, or Nora, where are we thinking about posting this? Are we thinking about posting it on the TNC Coastal Resilience website or, yes. Thank you.
Well, I know that was something that Allison had reached out to Jean-Louis about, and so I think kind of brainstorming with her, who I know has done some work in terms of the GIS, thank you, on the town website. But yeah, so I'm certainly open to our website. But yeah,
More or less we embed
exactly.
the access of this anywhere we want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And suddenly we have the credentials. So, for example, all the fooding, all the building on the island, I'm sure every year we get an update, so we need to be updated.
Okay. Thank you.
So this is a little more mundane than Jean-Louis' presentation, but I just wanted to sort of respond in a sense to, oh, that's my toe. Thanks, Mary. So at our September meeting, we were discussing the utility of 3D printed topological maps that had been produced by James Bailey for showing flooding resulting from sea level rise. And I made the comment, a 2-foot rise doesn't look much different from the current time. And this comment appeared in quotes in the Block Island Times in an article by Renee. But because the comment was not directly linked to the topo map discussion, it's been misinterpreted by some as indicating that I don't think that a 2-foot sea level rise is a big deal. And the bottom line is I do think the 2-foot sea level rise is a big deal. And so I just wanted to address this in this quick, I hope, quick presentation. Okay, so if we can move to the next slide. Thanks, Judy. Does it? So this is why I made the comment. This is a Storm Tools map of 2-foot sea level rise. And the only area that is really affected by 2-foot sea level rise in terms of things that we sort of care about is the area around the junction between Ocean Avenue, the north end of Ocean Avenue, and West Side, you know, where Bimmy and Deadeye Dicks are. And there's a little spotty flooding in that area at mean high watermark. That's the higher of the 2 high tides per day and averaged over the whole year. That's what the Storm Tools maps show, and I think that's what Jean-Louis' maps also show, and this shows just that region. So that was the cause of my comment about it not being easy to see on a big topo map of Block Island. Okay, so I thought I'd try and address what the real effect of 2-foot sea level rise was, just sort of as an education in a sense. So we can go to the next slide. We've had some 2-foot sea level rises in our recent history that many of you will remember, although if you weren't here in the sort of winter months, you might have missed it. These are pictures of that area. Here's Bimmy. This is on the 23rd of December in 2022. Now, we've been running tide gauges in the Great Salt Pond, in Trimms Pond, and at the Block Island Club, as well as in Harbour Pond. So we have pretty accurate measurements of what the actual water levels are relative to the NAVD88 global datum. Actually, it's the North American vertical datum, which is the datum that all of the topological maps are tied to. Okay, so this shows these pictures actually were taken very close to high tide, and there was a 4.1 foot water level at that time, at the time of the photo. And just notice that, you know, there's a car that with the water sort of up to the more or less the middle of the hubcaps, a bicycle with its wheels, you know, substantially in the water. Just for everyone's notice, the top step of Bimmy is at 4.5 feet. Okay, and that's a nice little local marker. We wanted to put a tide rule there, but they wouldn't let us, which was a shame. Maybe we'll get back to that. Okay, so just quickly, the next one. This next one is a storm on the January the 13th, 2024. So same area, similar flood. It was a 4-foot flood looking down Ocean Avenue towards the hog pen. Water covered the road all the way down to the hog pen, okay? And in parts of this, you know, you really are you do not want to drive through this stuff. Apart from anything else, it's salt water. It's not going to do your car any good. Next one, please, Judy. Just a few days before that, there was another, actually, it went up to 4 feet in the same area, Bimmy again, and the side of Deadeye Dicks. This was taken as the water was ebbing, so the water had actually dropped to 3.5 feet on our tide gauges. I think it's a little higher here because of the slowness of draining this area at this stage. Okay, so can I move to the next slide? So not surprisingly, these fit in very well with the topological map that you find on the town GIS. So this highlighted line is the 4-foot contour line. And you can see this is the region that we're talking about. This is below that 4-foot line. Okay, count the next one, Judy. Okay, so what would this mean in the context of a 2-foot sea level rise? So these are data from our tide gauges for a 3-month period from the middle of November 2023 to the middle of February 2024. All of these little bars are the high tides, so the 2 high tides per day, measured in Old Harbor in blue, at the BI Club in red, and then in green is the predicted high tide level that NOAA would publish, but adjusted to the NAVD88, because if you look at a NOAA tide table, it's always relative to mean low water. Okay, so, and these are the 2 storms in January 10 and 13. There was another storm in December, I think the 18th, in this particular period. So this purple magenta line shows what the effect of a 2-foot sea level rise would be. So every line that reaches this line, every high tide level that reaches that line would flood that area to the level seen in the photos I've just been showing you. If you count up the number, that would be 46 flooding events in this 3-month period. Okay, and some of those floods would add another 2 foot to the level of water. So we're talking about, possibly 3 foot of water at these areas once we have a 2-foot sea level rise. So a 2-foot sea level rise is in fact a serious issue. In many cases, given that the GT, the difference between mean low water and mean high water is only 3 foot on Block Island. If you've got a 3-foot flood, that's going to persist round a tidal cycle as long as the storm is around. So these are not just going to be only at high tide. It's going to run through the time for probably several hours on each side of that high tide. Okay, so that's basically the message, and there's a summary slide, I think, in the next one.
So Nigel, it's all coming through the channel, all that water.
All of that water is coming through the channel. And then it goes around Trim's Pond and will come over the back. It'll come into Harbor Pond and you will, so I'll just mention that in a moment. Okay, so with 2-foot sea level rise, frequent flooding, even with no storm surge, a higher frequency of the 5 to 10 year storms that cause those 2-foot surges that I showed you the pictures of back in January 2024. And even a 1-year storm after a 2-foot sea level rise will cause flooding at additional spots along the southeast segment of Ocean Avenue. So the areas now approaching, the Kimberley parking lot and across from the power company, and the bit of Beach Avenue that connects Ocean Avenue and the police station and the rescue station with Center Road. There's a very low spot in there. And there's one sort of the slide, I think, that just shows one more. Okay, so this is what just a 1-year storm would do with 2-foot sea level rise. And you can see this is the Beach Avenue flooding. This is flooding down in the southern portion of Ocean Avenue by Bitco, and then around Connecticut Avenue and over here by Bridgegate Square. Interestingly, Corneck Road remains untouched pretty much by this. You have to get a bigger storm surge to get Corneck Road into trouble, okay? And that's down here. Corneck Road spared, substantial flooding obviously around here, and then patchy flagging in these general areas. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Nigel. Yes, Oh, yeah, but yes, turn on your mic.
But Nigel, the 2 feet raise of the ocean is based in 75 years.
And I'm sorry,
The projection of 2 feet is in 75 years.
the 2 foot sea level rise.
Right.
It depends who you talk to. If you talk to
I'm
Michael,
just looking at the data,
well, I mean,
Noah, yeah.
Noah has projections that range from low, intermediate, high, intermediate, and high. Okay, in the high intermediate, we would be at 2 foot by about 2070. Not 75 years. We're talking maybe less than 50. And certainly, if you talk to Michael Oppenheimer, who I take as my personal expert on this whole general area, he's talking about mid-century or soon thereafter.
And I understand that. I'm just looking from the perspective of public. It's very complicated to project the public. Say, hey, even 50 years,
Sure.
70 years. I think the storm surge is more present. You can really explain to the public, look, the augmentation of storm will be more and more. There will be more augmentation. So that's why I try to divide the sea level and the storm, because I think it has more impact on the public. That's why I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I understand absolutely where you're coming from. I mean, part of what I said was in response to Renee's comment about or my comment about sea level rise of 2 feet not being very important, but it is the bottom line. But
to get the
yes.
support and the finance, I believe.
Yeah, and we understand that it's important. Oh, here comes Renee. Go ahead, Renee.
I didn't do that. So I just wanted to say, I don't know. I know a lot of people don't read the Block Island Times, but last week we did have a notice from, I think it was Sea Grant, about the king tides and when they are. And this is really your opportunity. And I would urge you to take advantage of it. Get out there with those cameras in high tides and low tides. Maybe everybody pick their own spot. Go to the same place, low tide, high tide, during some of these pockets of time. It happens to be today through October 10th. I think high tide is at like 4:30. The morning one, I believe tomorrow is like at 8:30 in the morning. We also have a tide chart in the paper. But I would say it would be a very good way to document right now what you're seeing under these scenarios.
So yes, thank you, Renee. I was going to say that also, and it's My Coast is the app. Yeah, My Coast. You can download it. And Rhode Island Sea Grant will ingest your information and make it available. Ta-da! Now we have arrived at our chance to talk about our respective roles and responsibilities with the Conservation Commission. And Ann Salinas, you want to? It's up to you. You put together a little presentation. It's on your computer.
Oh, yes.
Do you want to, I mean, do we want to give the Conservation Commission a chance to talk to us and then we see if we want to use that? Yeah. You want to just, and then, okay. So Ann put together like a little Coastal Resilience 101, but maybe we don't really need that right now. And maybe we can just go right ahead and launch into conversation with the Conservation Commission. And yes, make sure, there's so many of us, I didn't think we could all be around the table. There's also not enough mics at the table, but if you could use the microphone here or there, and let's just, let's talk about what our respective roles and responsibilities are. I think it was Carlos who put together the comparison that I thought it was you. So I think all of us have seen the piece of paper, and it's up here on the table. The Coastal Resilience Committee and Conservation Commission overlaps based on our existing plans. And I think, for me, I'll just because I'm talking now, I think there's a real opportunity here for us to work together, especially on community engagement and public outreach. I think that's the one thing that we have started to establish a groove for ourselves in, and we would love it. We'd love to expand our capability in that area and make sure that we're communicating a broader message. Not, we have a very specific message, like, what do you want to do with the beach house? But also we always try and set it in a larger context. And so you guys would be really helpful for us in that regard. But please. Okay, Anne, yes.
Sorry. So I agree that community outreach, public education would be a great area to collaborate. I found this to be a very helpful document, and I think it does really point to the areas where there is synergy or possibilities for joint approaches. I just wanted to share the things that jumped out at me sort of more concretely, that where I think we can work more together. One of them is consulting with each other when there are CRMC applications, since those are all coastal related applications and they fall within your domain. And we've seen a couple examples of, challenges with sort of monitoring those. I think monitoring them, having a clear process with the town or whoever, but someone who's regularly checking the applications and then requesting them before they even come to public notice, so that we collectively get the heads up and then are able to weigh in as needed when there is something requiring a Conservation Commission review. I think working with the Conservation Commission on marsh migration and protecting the Great Salt Pond, that was an area identified as an area in both of ours. We have a working group, or can't remember if it's a working group or a point of contact, but that's focused on that. And as has been mentioned in this meeting, there's a number of different activities happening now in terms of scientific research on the salt marshes and the Great Salt Pond. So coming together to think about how do we better protect the areas that are most identified as most vulnerable and or valuable in terms of preparing ability to mitigate some of the effects of sea level rise, for example. Also sharing the research findings and data. That was something I noted the Conservation Commission had identified, and I don't think we've been doing that. So I think that's probably more a matter of just sharing actual documents, and when we have presentations, making it more of a concerted effort to invite and ensure Conservation Commission participation. And then finally, as you mentioned, the work on joint public education campaigns. We have a public education community engagement working group for CRC, and there are definitely areas where, there's a need to educate both visitors and residents about some of the vulnerabilities and mitigation efforts. So those are my thoughts in reviewing those.
Thank you. Yeah, and I have been sharing more and more stuff with Amanda. So sorry. But just because it's a way of getting some of our products. When I say products, I mean like presentations, and like Nigel wrote a white paper about Corn Neck Road an eon ago, and I would have sent, if there had been a Conservation Commission that I knew about at that time, I probably would have sent it to them. But now I know I would send it to Amanda. So- Yes. Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, that would be great. If we can all fit up here, that would be wonderful. And we can just share the mics around the table.
Yeah.
Okay. I usually don't touch these because Tom has yelled at me.
Okay.
Is it okay, you guys, if we're in the dark? It looks like we're still projected, so that's good. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sue.
Oh, sure. So I'm not necessarily speaking for the commission right now, but just as a member on it. I'm Sue Gibbons. I'm certainly in agreement with the bullet points we've already come together on in terms of where our overlap is. It seems to us mostly, I think, as a commission, or to me, that most of our overlap or areas that make the most sense are indeed in advocacy, education, and outreach. We have different missions when it comes to the work, the everyday work of the day. In that Conservation Commission is often looking at applications for building changes and making advisories to the zoning and planning and that kind of thing, which isn't necessarily a large overlap, except for the ways in which we look at those applications and the ways in which you're looking at things that make sense for the overall health of the island and for resilience. I'll have to confess, one word I heard just now worried me, and that is, and it's probably just a semantics of the words, and that is when there are CRMC applications involved. I think, Anne, you were just saying that we certainly can share concerns, but I'm not sure if consult with each other makes sense there. It sounds like it might complicate decision-making sometimes, but maybe I'm just not interpreting what you mean as clearly as I should.
Maybe just to clarify, so I'm thinking about the pre-notice application process. This committee talked about a lot the Core Log project on Scotch Beach or north of Scotch Beach. And that sort of went through the system without anyone catching it. And at that point, we decided, I think George volunteered to
Yeah, I've
monitor the
CRMC application, permit application database.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that just sort of, that's knowing that someone is doing that and that will bring to our attention when there is an ask for the application materials, because it's just a database with a one line. So that there's a heads up. I mean, maybe it's a better role for the Conservation Commission, since you all have to formally weigh in on that. But I think because we do think in some of these cases, and we could sort of specify which types of things would be ones that we'd want to, offer inputs on.
Anyway, because the Shellfish Commission, so it's sort of a natural bridge.
Right. So I have an example. So somebody's coming in for a bluff mediation near Southeast Light. I'm just gonna make that up. So what they're trying to do is stop the erosion of the bluff. Now, the source of sand on our beaches is bluff erosion. So where we, as an advisory committee, come in is that we're working with the scientists who are doing the research that are, looking at the sand budget and where are the sources and sinks. And we could support you in providing you that kind of information. Like, one thing you should consider in this project is the fact that you're cutting off the rest of the public from that source of sand.
Mhm.
And whatever that means, we don't have any idea what that means. We don't take it any further. It's more just the information that we're working on, and you being aware of the kind of stuff that we're supporting, not financially, but just, rah, please come to Block Island and do this research that would possibly impact you. I think we're still total background players. We don't want to, maybe as citizens, we want to weigh in, but as a committee, we don't have a role in approval or non-approval. It's just, what are being able to answer, what are some of the impacts?
And also, I think, the coastal resilience has a lot of expertise that I've heard throughout, the last few years. What you've just mentioned, Judy, is one example of that. I remember another point, Nigel, on the Coir logs type projects, cautioning about, we're not sure exactly what the ancillary impacts might be. And so it's that type of thinking that y'all bring to the table that completely, I think, would nourish the Conservation Commission's evaluation.
Sure.
Of any given process, of any given project, especially, coastal features. And I wonder if there's a way to make the CRMC issue a little bit more, elevate its profile a little bit. There's been this issue with the Block Island Club. We had a kind of a heated, animated meeting last night at Town Council about it. And, I think we might have avoided some of the headaches had we looked at this application much earlier on when it was filed back in June, but we missed it. And so I think we need like an ongoing reporting process to support what George is doing to ensure that any new application, both members of conservation and coastal resilience immediately become aware. Heads up, here's this application just got filed, with some kind of executive summary.
Do you think there is somebody who has the authority of freezing any permit until the science describe in the next 2 years what is correct to do or not?
As far as I can tell, it's really, goes to the CRMC and they make those decisions. Yeah. I mean, we can advise, we can object,
Right.
we can advocate, but it's the CRMC that makes those decisions.
Yeah.
Or DEM.
Or do,
Yeah.
depending on where the application goes. But yeah, advisories from Conservation Commission or any other group on the island that go to CRMC. And even, it's my understanding that even advisories from CRMC's own scientists that go to the CRMC board are acted on by the CRMC board and are not necessarily in line with the advisories they get back. So our role is to do a good job with the advisories. I think Carlos has a great idea in that it connects, I think, with what I misunderstood there. If we all had a better heads up when there's an application coming through to CRMC, it might help us avoid some of the heavy level of misunderstanding and sort of late to the game problem solving that is happening right now, for instance, with the BI Club application.
What is the time frame between making an application to CRMC and it being approved or not being approved, or at least going to the approval stage?
I don't know.
Because sometimes, the time given is not enough for the bureaucratic processes. I mean, we only meet once a month. You only meet once a month. If you just had a meeting and there's not another meeting, what's the timing?
Well, it goes through, if you go on the permit, it shows the dates that it's running through all the staff members, and that takes a certain amount of time. There's also a statute in terms of if they think it meets, this is one of the problems as well, potentially. It has to meet a certain level of standing before it even becomes put out there to the public for public comment. And but once it is, it's a very short window, 30 days. Right. So, it's best to get in there even before, if you can get enough information on that. Now, they won't put the details on the website, but Lisa Turner, I believe her name is, she will gladly, if you ask, provide you with all the email you the entire packet, which is what she did with the property up off Scotch Beach, a year ago. But you do have to kind of dig a little bit and decide, is this thing even going to be an issue? I wouldn't, like the Block Island Club thing is a non-issue erosion wise. Or, really it's not a CRC issue. So I didn't see it that way. It does involve other issues potentially, but not coastal resiliency. So, and that's, and if you don't agree with me on that, then I failed you for sure. But there's other issues that it raises for people.
So I was a terrible meeting monitor today, and I let the Coastal Resilience Committee drone on and on and on. And this is what we really came to do, was to sit here and chat. And there's a whole queue of people outside who have a meeting at 4. So I propose that we continue this conversation at your meeting at the Conservation Commission, and that maybe one of the most important things we can do is have like a liaison on each other's committees. Yeah, just that somebody commits. Yeah, so that somebody from the Coastal Resilience Committee actually commits to attending your meetings as many times as they can, and likewise that you guys have somebody that attends our meetings whenever they can. It doesn't have to be, whatever.
So Amanda, am I right that our next meeting is October 14th? Yes. At 4:30. At 4:30. So, here, right here. So,
Amanda, if you send me your agendas, I'll share it with my committee, or send them to Laurel, and Laurel can share them. Yeah. Yeah, and between the two of us, between me and Laurel, one of us won't be on vacation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and then we'll just lead with it. And
Yeah.
have plenty of time for discussion.
Yeah, especially on the 3 areas: the marshes, the Great Salt Pond, and and especially community engagement.
Okay.
And also make you the same offer as I make Mike Shea and everybody else. If we can help you with somebody or something, if you're asking for something and you think we can weigh in and be supportive, use us, please.
Okay.
And I'm so sorry that we didn't have more time for discussion.
Yeah.
That's my fault.
Yeah, I'll wait for
Can I hear a motion to adjourn? Nigel, a second. Jean-Louis, all in favor?